Hi everyone, in this video I want to talk about finding trig functions of angles within right triangles. Here are the two problems that we'll do. Also, to make sure that we don't take ourselves too seriously, let's think about the fun question. How old were you when you had your first sleepover? Okay, before we dive in, let's talk about the math section. Trig is a very small portion of this math section, but it is always on there. It's only like 5 to 10% of the section, just a few questions. But you can guarantee that you'll find something on there related to the trig ratios. And these problems chosen today seem to fit the mold of several problems that I've seen before. So you could be asked to find the trig function given a picture. That's the most common. Or it's also possible that they could ask you to find the trig function given another trig function. And so what we have to do here is first think about all of the ratios and what they are equal to. So let's jot that down on the top of our page here. So we have sine theta, remember, so ka. Toa. Sine is equal to opposite over hypotenuse. Cosine is equal to adjacent over hypotenuse. Tangent is equal to opposite over adjacent. Then we have to think about the reciprocal functions. So if we have sine here, cosecant is the opposite, and that's h over o. The way I remember this is an s goes with a c here, and I know this one is secant because this s and the c go together as well. It's never like c or s. So secant is the reciprocal of cosine. So we have h over a. Tangent goes with cotangent, so that's a over o. Okay, so I will need these three reciprocal identities for this problem, but for this first one, it's just asking you for cosine. And I remember being confused by this before, where I would think when you see this problem that you need to solve for theta, but it's just asking you for that cosine. So you can stop there. You don't need to actually solve for theta here. All right, cosine is the same thing as a over h, right? Now, where is the a? Where is the h? Well, if this is the degree right here, then across from it is the o. And the hypotenuse is always the longest side across from the 90 degrees, the right angle. And then the adjacent is this one here. It's always next to or adjacent to the theta or the degree. So there's some trouble here. We don't have the a and the h. Oh, sorry, we have the h, but we don't have the a. So what we can do is think about a way to solve for the a, and that is Pythagorean theorem. So let's say 7 squared plus, and then we'll call this x squared equals 25 squared. And I can just use Pythagorean theorem, or if you're really good, you would know the Pythagorean triples. So 25 squared minus 7 squared, and you do have a calculator, is 576. Okay, so we need to do 49 x squared, and then 25 squared is 625. If I subtract 49, I get x squared equals 576. If I square root both sides, I get 24. Now that's a Pythagorean triple, 7, 24, 25. So you may not even need this step here. You might just say, oh, well, if that's 7 and that's 25, I know that 24 is the third side. Okay, so what's our final answer? Now we have an a, so it's 24 and we have the h, and that's 25. So your final answer is just the fraction 24/25. Okay, next one, number 2. It says to find tangent if cosecant is 5/4. Oh man. So what we have to do is draw ourselves a little picture similar to the one in number 1. And we have to think about cosecant. You might even want to write this on the top of your paper. If that's equal to 5/4, then that 5 must be the h and the 4 must be the o. So that tells me that from, let's call this the theta. You know, the theta can be random. It doesn't have to be any certain angle on that triangle. If that theta is here, the o must be 4, which is across from the degree. And then the h in this case must be the 5. So it's asking me for tangent. Okay, I don't know anything else except that 4 and the 5. But tangent is equal to O over A. So I somehow need to, so I have my O. I know it's going to be 4, but I need to have an A somehow. So I need to solve for X right here. I can either observe that that's a Pythagorean triple going on or actually use Pythagorean theorem. Now, keep in mind that you have only 1 minute per question here. So those little shortcuts are great so that you can save time on these problems. I get x squared equals 9, x is 3. Okay, so that A must be 3, and my final answer is 4/3. Let's move on to some practice problems that are similar to the ones we just did. This one says find secant if tangent is equal to 3/4. And then this is a diagram problem that is asking about cotangent. So feel free to pause the video so that you don't see the answer quite yet. Okay, answers are 5/4 and 8/15. Lastly, I want to leave you with a quote. This is a really good one. The fears we don't face become our limits. How about that? If you have a fear of math, some of you, right now, working through the content that you don't understand is definitely the way to face your fear. So you're doing great. So now that you've had some time to think about the fun question, I'd love to see your answers in the comments. Also, if you'd like to keep up with new videos, I'd really appreciate if you clicked subscribe. Have a great day.